So, students, now it is 4 o'clock. Today is 11th of the May 2020. And now, today in mathematics, I will teach you coordinates and the graphs of the linear equation. Means coordinate geometry. Coordinate geometry. Now, as this is geometry, so we have to make diagram in it. It is a must or the necessary part. So, friends, the coordinates, to understand the coordinate geometry, it is an important part that there is always a fixed point. In the physics, I said to you about this fixed point is a resting condition. And there I told you it is having the no direction. Anywhere it can stay. But in the geometry, it is entirely a different thing. Means the position of a point in a plane is fixed. Position of a point in a plane is fixed by selecting the axis of the reference. This is a reference point. This point is said to be a point. We are discussing about this point, so this point will always known as reference point. Reference point. Everything will be considered in its reference. This is a point. In physics, it's what is a resting point. In mathematics, this is a point having no direction. But in the coordinate geometry, this point A is known as the reference point. The word being used is important to know that whenever any teacher says to you that's a reference point, it means suppose you are a runner, you are an athlete, and from where you start your running, that point is a reference point. Because everything will be started from that particular point. Your time will start from there. Your distance you will travel will start from there. So that particular point is a reference point. So everything is going to start from this particular point. So this point is known as the reference point. If this is a reference point, then the combination of this number scale at the right angles to each other and the zeros point, suppose, then what we will do? We will draw two perpendicular lines or two coordinates. About this, I have already told you. These are two coordinates. This is x coordinate and this is the y coordinate. Somewhere in between these two coordinates, there is a reference point A. Where these two coordinates are meeting, this point is always be a reference point again, a reference point, but here this reference point is in between, somewhere in between x and y coordinates. So this is a coordinate geometry because these are coordinates. Without coordinates, we cannot solve it out. So the point where these two coordinates are coinciding is origin, I told you earlier, and its coordinates will be 0 this time. This reference point will also have some coordinates. What are those some coordinates? In physics, this was having no direction. But here in mathematics, it is having two coordinates. One in the x-axis and one on the y-axis. As this is a reference point, P-O-I-N-T, as this is a reference point, so I will draw a perpendicular line from this reference point on the x-axis, and I will do a perpendicular line from this reference point on the y-axis. What it will tell us? It will tell us that this reference point is this much distance from the y-axis and this much distance on the x-axis. Remember, I am saying this much distance on the x-axis, but you will see that this is on the y-axis. I am saying this much distance on the y-axis as this is on the x-axis. But see, the distance is height here. If this is height, it means it is the y-axis distance. This side is equal to this side. It is a rectangular component. Another word, reference point, it is making a rectangular component. This is a reference point. Reference with which sense? With x-axis and y-axis. X-axis and y-axis. Where these both axes are, or where these both coordinates are meeting together, that is the origin O. In this O, where this is meeting, x-axis is having a magnitude or numerical value 0. X-axis at 0, 0. Y-axis is also 0, comma, 0. So its coordinates will be origin 0, comma 0, because this is origin O, where I have written O, but its coordinates will be written as 0, comma 0. But here A's coordinates are not 0, comma 0. A has some coordinates. In x-axis, this is meeting at x. On y-axis, it is meeting at small y. This is small x. So we will write the coordinates of A as A bracket x comma y. What this x and y are? These are the magnitudes or the numerical values mentioned on the x-axis or mentioned on the y-axis. As this is a point, it is reference point. So its frame, this frame, which is a rectangular frame, because this is a reference point now, so it will make a frame. This is a rectangular component and its frame is lying one on the x-axis and one on the y-axis. So we will write x comma y. Okay, so this point having the two reference frames, x comma y. The first part is always known as abscissa and second part is known as ordinate. Means the distance from the origin point to the x point is called abscissa. ABSCISA, abscissa. So this is known as the abscissa and this is called the ordinate. 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 Y-axis, this is called ordinate. On the x-axis, this is known as the abscissa. It means if some magnitudes are here, suppose this distance is 5 centimeter and this distance is 9 centimeter, then the coordinates or the ordinates of this one, A is 5, 9. 5, 9. So a point which is a reference point has a rectangular component with reference to the x and the y-axis, where if we will drop a perpendicular on the x-axis, its position on the axis can be seen, and when it is drawn perpendicular on the y-axis, its position with the y-axis can be seen. From here, this is at this distance. From here, this is at this distance. So we will write in the mathematics it like a point x comma y. These are its two reference points. Reference point having two coordinates, x coordinate and y coordinate. In future, we will also study that it is also having some relation with the z-axis. So we will drop another dashed line on it perpendicular. So that time this will call as it will make its third axis at the z-axis. So it will totally be x comma y comma z with this reference point. Now we will learn it more in a more easier way. How we will learn it? Give it to me. Now I have to clear it out. Now this reference point A has many meanings. It is acquiring so many characters within itself that it will amaze you. So whatever we have learned, this time that this is a y-axis and this is an x-axis and this is its origin. One thing, x-axis, horizontal axis, perpendicular y-axis, origin where they both are meeting together. Second thing, this x-axis and this is a y-axis, this is an origin, this is called abscissa, ABS. This is called as the abscissa, ABSCISSA, abscissa. Means A, small a, remember. And this is ordinate, ORDINATE, not coordinate, ordinate, O. This is A. How you will remember it? Suppose there is some point at A, this is a reference point. Its values are always 2 when we will study 2 reference frames, x and y axis only. At that time, this is x comma y. Always remember. How you will remember it in examination? They will ask you a question: what's its abscissa? What's its ordinate? Its ordinate is 4. Its abscissa is 9. At that time, you may get some confusion. So I am giving you a trick so that you can remember it all the time for whole of your year or whole of your life. Then, what's that? Abscissa is starting with an alphabet A, and ordinate is starting with an alphabet O. What comes first in alphabetical table? A comes first, then O. So always first is abscissa and ordinate is second. Abscissa is always first position and ordinate is always in the second position. So this, like this, you can easily remember, and no one, not even a single question will be wrong from you. Now, my friends, this is having its 2 values with a reference point in this. Now, in setting a coordinate point, the abscissa precedes the ordinate. Abscissa precedes the ordinate, and the 2 are separated by a comma. These 2 are separated by a comma. You always have to put comma over here. If you will write this like this, x and y, and this is wrong. Comma should separate both of these things. Got it? Now, what these 2 are called now, when they are separated by this comma, then x and y is called as the ordered pairs. ORDEREDPAIRS. Ordered pair means you have arranged them in a order. You have arranged them in an order, correct order. So this is these both points are called the ordered pairs because you have arranged them in an order. So now the coordinates of the origin obviously are origin's ordinates are. What are the coordinates of the origin? The origin, ORI, origin's coordinates are always 0, 0 because this is origin. Origin, ORIGIN. This is origin. So the origin's coordinates are 0, 0 because x is residing at the 0 point and y is also at the 0 point. So we will write always and understand always origin's coordinates are 0, 0. Got it? So now suppose if in this graph, this is a graph, y-axis, x-axis, anything is lying on this point, on the x-axis. The point A lies on x-axis. Now, what are its coordinates? its coordinates will be, as you can measure the x-axis, so you will write its coordinates as x, comma, y is at 0 point. Because if you will draw perpendicular, there is no movement on the y-axis. So y, this point is residing on the y-axis at the 0 place. So we will write it x, comma 0. So the coordinates of the A point, which is lying on the x-axis, anywhere on the x-axis, is x, comma 0. If this is the origin and this is, I told you, this is the minus x-axis, and if A lies left to the origin, this is the right of the origin. If A is lying right of the origin, then its coordinates are x, comma 0, and if A lies left of the origin somewhere on the x-axis, then its coordinates will be minus x, comma 0. You got it? It means this A somewhere on the x-axis having the value of abscissa, but not the ordinates. Ordinates are 0. Got it? Because when we proceed it backward, we see you are covering a numerical value on the x-axis. You are getting magnitude on the x-axis, but as this is not moving up, so it is not having any magnitude or numerical value on the y-axis. So the ordinates value are 0. Got it? Now, what happens in the second graph? If this is our second graph, 0. If this is y-axis and this is an x-axis, if a point has been taken A on y-axis, then its coordinates will be 0, because this is value on the x-axis is 0, comma, ordinates value is y, because nothing has been provided, no numerical value has been provided, then we have to say it is having its y value, because this is moved upward on the y scale. So 0, comma y. Now abscissa is 0 and ordinate is y. Got it? Similarly, if it will go downward on the y-axis, means negative y-axis, somewhere lying at this point A, then we will write 0, comma minus y. 0, comma minus y. Now you have seen a reference point. If lying in between these two, it is having its numerical value or magnitudal value of the abscissa and ordinates, or the x-axis and y-axis. But when it lies somewhere on the x-axis, then it is having only the x value. When it lies on somewhere on the y-axis, it is having only the y value. But if it is at the reference point, or the point of joining of the x and the y axis, x or the y planes, then it is known as the origin, and the magnitude of the origin is always 0, whether it is the x-axis, y-axis, or z-axis. If you are taking the reference frame of the three faces, x, y, and z, then the ordinates value or the coordinates value of the origin will become 0, comma 0, comma 0. If we are having the three Cartesian planes, x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis, these are also known as a word that is called the Cartesian planes. Got it? This is also known as the word like Cartesian planes. So my friends, you have come to know all these conclusions, which are very much simpler for you to understand. It is clear from this that x and y are the different from the point of, never you will write y, comma x. If you will write it like this is totally wrong. So x, comma y is the correct framed coordinate. This type of y cannot be written first than the x. Similarly, this is a reference point, and this reference point is in between a reference frame, and so the reference frame can be easily understood. Now, I have to clear it out. This coordinate axis separate the plane. This coordinate axis separate the plane into 4 quadrants. Although quadrant is 4, but therefore I have to say it for your easiness. Reference plane having, I have given the reference plane x and the y axes. The coordinate axes separate the plane. The coordinate axes are, which are coordinate axes? X and y coordinate axes. It is having x and y, a complete diagram on this page. X, x, origin, where the x-axis or the horizontal axis minus x from the origin. You know it is, you have already studied in the number line, and the left part of the number line of the origin is also always negative, and the right side is always positive. They started teaching you this coordinate geometry at that time. So I don't think that the coordinate geometry you are studying first time. And it has already started somewhere, some bit 3 or 4 years before. So this is the y-axis. This is the negative y-axis. Now, what is this called as the? These coordinates separate the plane, the 4 regions called the quadrant. This plane has completed its 4 regions, quadrants. First quadrant, second quadrant, anti-clockwise from here to here. Third quadrant and fourth quadrant. Sometimes the question may be asked, which quadrant this lie? Okay, now there is a reference point A somewhere here, A. A reference point B somewhere here. A reference point C somewhere here. And reference point D here. These are 4 different reference points at these 4 quadrant. These are 4 quadrant. 1 A quadrant, 2, 3, and 4 quadrants. Got it? If this is a reference point in the first quadrant, then both the things, this is positive, here this is positive, so its reference will be positive, comma, positive. Here y is positive, but the x is negative, so it will be negative, comma, positive. Positive, positive, negative, positive. Here both are negative. X is negative, y is negative. So it will be negative, comma, negative. Third quadrant, both negative. And the fourth quadrant, here the x is positive and y is negative plus, comma, negative. Fourth quadrant is positive. Now, how easy it is? See, the straight line crossing this O to this, if this is positive, positive, its opposite negative, negative. It is negative, positive, its opposite, here positive, negative. Got it? If we will write in the form of the alphabets, it will be x, comma, y. It will be minus x, comma, y. This will be minus x, comma, minus y. And this will be x, comma, minus y. 4 coordinates having the different type of the impressions or Cartesian symbols. So in these 4 quadrants of the x-axis and the y-axis, you have seen where we will put it together. Supposingly, now for example, you have seen it. Now, I am giving it numbers. This is origin 0, 0. Equal distance 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I have categorized or divided according to the scale, normal straight line scale. Suppose I write 3, 2. If I will write 3, 2, 3, 2, it means on the axis I will go 3 points to the right from the origin. 1, 2, 3. This is it. And 2, I will go upward. 1, 2. So I will draw a straight line here and draw a straight line here. Where they will meet together is our reference point A. Now its coordinates are 3, 2. I have mentioned it here. If I am having something like this, that -5, 1, it means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. -5 is this, and 1 is y-axis. So I will draw a perpendicular on the 5 and a perpendicular on the y-axis. So this point B is -5, 1. -5, 1. In the third coordinate or the third quadrant, if there is 5, -5, -5, it means where I have to see -5, -5. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, -5. I will drop down a perpendicular. I will drop down a perpendicular where it will be meet at the C point. This is -5, -5. If here is 5, -2. 5, -2. What happens now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. -2, 1, 2. Perpendicular draw here, and here this is the D point, -5, 2. Likewise, you can draw any line, any point mentioned according to the requirement of your question. Hope you would have understood this thing very easily, that which type of the reference points are they and how we will put a numerical value or the magnitudinal value on their references. So now its next part, which is an important part also for every one of us. Sign convention you have seen. This is the first coordinate, second coordinate, third coordinate. It moves towards the right, it moves towards the up, it moves towards the left, it moves towards the down. This is its movement. We can easily sign it out. Sign conventions you have seen. Now plotting the point whose coordinates are known, we have seen this one. It is so. Sometimes we can watch these coordinate system are becoming something tougher. You should have to be ready to understand it very clearly. You should make your mind sharp. What I am going to tell you now, because this was simple. It was easy to understand by everyone. Even a class 3rd student can understand this type of the property. Why I am saying this? Class 3rd student can understand. I am having a school, a small kids school. I was having a small kids school. Infants were coming over there. Boys are blur. Now,